June 7th, 2022. Roll call, please.
Mr. Fuller.
Here.
Mr. Coleman.
Here.
Ms. Materney.
Here.
Mr. McCarthy.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Van Uzen. Mr. Weber.
Here. Say the Pledge of Allegiance, please stand if you're able and join me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Minutes of council meeting of May 17th, 2022.
Thank you, Mayor. Everyone has received a copy of this. I believe there was one change that I requested that we have in this updated copy here. If there's any questions or concerns,
Is that the committee of the whole?
For the committee of the whole one, yes. Unless there's any commission, I can't get any words out right today. Unless there's any concerns, and if there's no objections, I am going to consider the minutes of the committee of the whole for Perrysburg City Council meeting held on May 31st, 2022, and the minutes of the Perrysburg City Council meeting held on May 17th, 2022, approved.
Thank you. We have no council reports. Letters, communication, citizen concerns. Do you have any citizens concerns I'm going to bring to our attention? Or if it's in a committee item, you can bring it up then, but if it's not related to a committee, this is your chance. All right, move forward. Mayor's report. First off, I am delighted to recommend Matt Coma for the position of Director of Public Utilities. He's gone through the interview process, and I think he has been a great addition to the city since he joined us several years ago, and I think he'll be a great Director of Public Utilities. No pressure. I think any emotion?
We had a great committee of the whole meeting, and
So I'll just add that as well as we had a unanimous recommendation at the committee of the whole to accept Matt as our next Director of Public Utilities, so I will make that motion.
Second. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Fuller.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
yes.
Ms. Materney.
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Even though he's a UT grad, I said yes.
Okay, well, get to work. Thanks very much. We appreciate it. We look forward to having you join the leadership team. I also want to mention at this time, I have a note. I got to find it. Firefighter Justin Lynch is receiving an award on June 13th from the Exchange Club in recognition of his fine work last year. So we want to recognize what he's done. We also want to take a moment. Safety Town and rec programs have started, so we're very excited about that. And we think these are a great addition to the community and great programs that are certainly well attended and well used. We had sign up online this year, and that worked very well, so we're excited about that. We had the fishing derby last Saturday, and I think it was last working day for Judy Hagan, and we want to recognize her, and I think we'll have more in the future about that, but we want a special recognition for her. And the Convention Visitors Bureau board met this morning, and the great races coming through town on Tuesday, June 21st, which is why we're moving our next council meeting. And I want to make sure to invite everybody and also to recognize all the hard work from the CPB board and the new executive director, Christine Best. And Angel's working on it as well. And I think it's going to be a great event for the community, and very excited about it. So the only issue is going to be weather. So knock on wood. But bring your umbrella even if it rains. It's going to be very fun. End of my report. City Administrator.
No report, Your Honor.
Finance Director.
I have no report.
Keep your your street dog. We're just gonna start calling you Cal Rip. Law director is on vacation this week. President of council.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have just a couple of things to note. I know I'm looking forward. I talked with Bridget, and we're working on a way to get both Bridget and Kate up here with us. So hopefully in the next council meeting, we'll have both of them up here back with council now that things are kind of calming out. We get a little closer. So the other item I just wanted to make, I received a couple comments today about notifications. This is the administration on the agendas. I believe a few people with our new PIO may have accidentally been omitted on some receiving copies of our agenda. So I'm hoping that the administration can talk with our PIO and make certain that the requests are matching the emails that are going out. I can talk further with you on that afterwards, but I just know that there's a few people that have mentioned that they are no longer receiving. They've reached out to me and I've been passing them over, and I hopefully don't have to keep doing that. So, all right, thank you.
So that for a while.
I just got the notification today, so I just wanted to bring that to the attention of the administration. I'm sure it's probably an oversight that they can't happen from time to time.
They are posted on our website, right? Prior to the meeting?
They are, but I believe, according to 208.06, if someone has requested to have written notification, they are supposed to have that notification.
I
So.
was just curious.
Okay, anything else?
I want to invite Bridget and Kate up on the finance committee meeting too. On the committee meetings, I hope you're going to be up here with us as well. Yes, we'll have something up here for you.
So that is the end of my report.
All right, committee reports on Q, finance and economic development.
No report, Your Honor. But our next meeting is Tuesday, June 14th at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you. Safety committee.
And no report, Your Honor. The next meeting is Tuesday, June 28th at 6 p.m.
Recreation.
Mark, can you take over for me too?
Yeah, no report. No, yeah, he's got it.
No report. Our next scheduled meeting is going to be on June 14th at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you. Planning and zoning.
No report, Your Honor. We, I think it's July 6th. First Wednesday in July, 5:30 p.m.
Thank you very much.
But I do have an ordinance. I'd like to introduce ordinance 40-2022. I'd like to move that the rules be suspended to allow for its reading by number and title only, and to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Ordinance 40, 2022, accepting the petition of Bishop Leonard Blair for the Diocese of Toledo, parcel number J37-10024000000 for the annexation into the city.
I would then move that ordinance 40-2022 be passed.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes. And then,
Thank you. Personnel committee.
Yeah, I do have a report for you tonight. We had a meeting on May 24th, 2022. Meeting was called to order by Mr. Tim McCarthy at 5:13. I was running a little late. I arrived at 5:23. Also present were Kevin Fuller, Bridget Cabot, Kelly Chalfant. No citizens' concerns. And if you don't mind, Tim, I'll read the parts that I wasn't even present for, but let me know if you
go right ahead.
have any inconsistencies. We talked about permission to purchase vehicle for new occupational safety and health coordinator. Ms. Cabot explained a request to purchase a 2022 Ford Escape through state contract for the new occupational safety and health coordinator. This vehicle will be used to travel to job sites and will get in a replacement rotation once the miles are understood. The committee members requested that the city logo as well as the position be branded on the vehicle. The committee agreed 2-0 to recommend this to city council. Then they were updated on the hiring for the new director of public utilities. Ms. Cabot stated that they have completed their first round of interviews for hiring the new director of public utilities. They're going to do a second round of interviews with 2 candidates, and then there will be committee of the whole meeting for all council to ask questions to the proposed candidate. Mr. Coolman added that he is pleased with both the candidates for the position. We then approved prior month's meeting minutes. Then we reviewed pay increases. There was much discussion between committee members, Ms. Cabot and Ms. Chalfant, regarding the review of pay increases. Ms. Cabot explained that 2021 was a unique year due to the creation of the pay bands along with collective bargaining negotiations. There was some debate on if any 12-month period means a rotating 12-month period or a calendar year, which is also the fiscal year for the city. Everyone agreed that the code language needs to be clearer. Mr. Coolman requested raises be presented retroactively as a legislative item. In other business, the committee members asked for an update on the deputy city administrator position. Ms. Cabot explained that starting next week, they will be working with consultants to see where there are gaps in the organizational chart, if any. She will report about this at the next personnel committee meeting. Mr. Fuller followed up on his suggestion of a wage enforcement coordinator. He explained that the city of Rossford just hired a compliance coordinator, similar to the position he had mentioned. Mr. Fuller added that this role would pay for itself. With no further business, meeting adjourned at 6:16 p.m. I have two pieces of legislation tonight. I'll read those separately. So first, I would like to introduce Resolution 50-2022 and move that the rules be suspended to allow for its reading by number and title only, and to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coolman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Resolution 50, 2022, a resolution authorizing a purchase agreement with Montrose Ford in an amount not to exceed $25,527.31 for the purchase of a 2022 Ford Escape vehicle for the Office of Human Resources and declaring an emergency.
Okay, I move that Resolution 50-2022 be passed as an emergency measure.
Second.
Discussion?
Is that a hybrid?
No, it's not.
Okay.
I'll just echo what I said at the committee meeting. I don't know that it was in the minutes, but I hope that we are checking with our local dealerships to see if they'll match the state bid so that we can stay local if possible.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Matroni?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes. Okay, next resolution I would like to introduce is Resolution 51-2022 and move that the rules be suspended to allow for its reading by number and title only and to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Resolution 51, 2022, a resolution authorizing cost of living increases and merit increases for the city of Perrysburg's non-bargaining union employees and declaring an emergency.
I move that Resolution 51-2022 be passed as an emergency measure.
Second.
Discussion?
So, kind of trying to figure out what happened on this one. I tried to watch back on, actually, this morning I finished watching the Personnel Committee. I know from the way that I looked through the code after watching the video, it says in any 12-month period. I know that this is retroactively being put through, but I'm curious to see, was there an opinion that was given as to saying that this was that the administration has a thought that this is a calendar year, or is it I guess what was the way I read through the code, it says in any 12-month period. And looking through when the last raises came through, which happened after we did the pay band change, was back in November, we're definitely well within that 12-month period. I'm just curious to see where this
Well, I think
change your thoughts.
It's a little unclear, and I think that was discussed in the committee, and I think we're more than happy to have some revision or edits to that to correct it. But in a general sense, a 12-month period, when you have a calendar year business is a calendar, you would take it as a calendar year. So some of the were last year and some would be this year, and I think that's what the administration did. And basically, I would also point out this has been the practice for many administrations before mine, a calendar year was the inherent understanding of the document, so.
I guess the question I'll ask is, has there been multiple raises given in a calendar year period in the past?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a calendar.
Well, not in a calendar year. Well, if someone changed position, I guess, yeah.
No, I think these raises, and Bridget can explain it better than I can. What happened is these fell in 2 successive calendar years, but in the same 12-month period. And I think Bridget will say, as soon as I shut up, during the time she's been here, it's always been a calendar year measuring stick. And you had that, you had the pandemic, you had bargaining, you had the pay bands. There are a lot of reasons things went, well, they didn't go differently, but why?
2021 was
We
a
needed to
different,
revisit.
2021 was a different year in the sense, as Councilman McCarthy just stated. Mayor Mackin, my recollection, and obviously Mayor Mackin's right here, he can confirm that, is that when we started off the year, we knew we were going into 5 different collective bargaining negotiation sessions. And he accorded non-bargaining unit members an initial increase, and then waiting upon the collective ending of those collective bargaining agreements to then make adjustments accordingly. While that was going on, we then had the pay band study come back, much discussion with council personnel committee, and once the mayor saw that there was 2 people in particular, 2 non-bargaining unit positions that were greatly out of alignment with what the study indicated would be an average actual salary, the mayor accorded additional compensation up to that 7% for those 2 people. Then council passed the pay band document, adopted it. That then caused a couple different things to happen. There were several people that were not at I think there's 2 people that were not at the minimum salary range for that pay band. They received increases based on the adoption of the plan. And then I believe either at that same time or soon after that, the mayor, then we finally wrapped up with fire. You may recall fire went to arbitration, took a little while to get those contracts signed. So the mayor then accorded across the board increases for many other non-bargaining unit individuals. Then we came back to city council during the budget process and requested for 2 additional increases through the budget process for 2 individuals who were still out of alignment, but the mayor had already capped his 7% allocation that the code allows. And then the council adopted that increase for those 2 people during the budget process. In fact, I think there was a formal motion that was made either the last meeting of December or the first meeting of January, I can't remember. So we looked at that as a calendar year activity. Same in 2022 as the same going back to when I got here in July of 2012. Mayor Evans at that time had given out annual cost of living increases / merit increases. I don't remember exactly how Mayor Evans looked at that, but those were done prior to my arrival. And since then, everything has been looked at as a calendar year. Ms. Chalfon, if she were still here, she has obviously a longer history than I do. Everything has always been looked at on a calendar year. And I do believe the current law director has written me an opinion that I can certainly forward to city council, if you would like.
I would enjoy seeing that. What is her opinion state on?
Her opinion is that it is, I won't say up to the discretion of, but that based on past practice of you looking at the fiscal year as the year in which raises have been accorded to non-bargaining unit members, that was the 12-month period that was selected.
So, sorry if I can interrupt.
That's fine.
So our law director issued an opinion on this particular raise?
In looking at the code section in and of itself.
So now I have a problem with the fact that our law director has issued an opinion when she's one of the people getting a 5% increase.
I'll pass it on to the law
I
director,
mean,
but I'm not the law director.
Because I'm reading the code here, and I'm just going to read it
So
out loud.
that was her opinion based on reading the code, and based on the past practice that the city has had and demonstrated to her. And we have a document that we are going to present to the personnel committee going back to, I think, 2014 or 2013, logging in the increases that were given to the personnel that were non-bargaining that are still here. And you'll see it kind of checkerboard because we have a lot of new individuals that have only been with the city, I'd say, the last 3 years.
Well, I'm looking at section 266.11-1. And subsection B, the pertinent part I'm referring to is the mayor may only adjust the rate of pay by more than 7% in any 12-month period with the concurrence of a majority of council. And we have several raises that are going to be more than that 7% within a 12-month period. And the fact that we're aware of this code and we voted on that at the end of last year, it's frustrating because you're giving all the reasons why these raises should occur, and I don't disagree with you. I disagree with the manner in which it was done. There's a reason we have council as a check and
When is your
balance.
12 years, when does 12 months start?
Any 12, I can read,
Well, yes.
I could give this
So-
to a fifth grader, and the interpretation is going to be any 12-month period.
So what is?
I don't need a law degree to read that, and
So when does the 12 months start?
I-
Does it start?
I would say you could read this to be, once a mayor gives an increase, he's not allowed to give another increase that would add up to over 7% within 12 months of that initial.
Or you
That's
could,
the,
or you could.
that's
read
the
it as a
book.
Calendar year, or you could.
No,
read
you
it-
cannot read, it would say,
But-
if it was meant to be calendar year,
Let me finish.
you and I both know it would say calendar year, Tom.
There are various interpretations of, and I have said to the administration, well, let's fix it. I don't think that there's anything wrong with what we have done, and I will be assertive in the assertion that you're saying that there was a procedure followed that was not followed. I would strongly disagree with that. This administration has bent over backwards to provide to the council facts and information throughout its process, and we've done nothing that hasn't gone before council the proper way. Now, last year was a very unusual year with a whole bunch of different things. So it's a little frustrating. You're frustrated and I'm frustrated that you're saying we did it wrong. I would beg to differ. Could there have been some definitions that were more clear? That's very possible. But for you to say this administration didn't follow proper procedure and that your interpretation of that clause is the only definition that any lawyer could ever come up with I would strongly disagree with that. And I disagree with the premise that this administration has not followed procedure. Having said that, these people, more importantly, we're going to fix whatever this issue is going forward, but the most important thing is that this staff has worked very diligently and earned the raises that have been presented to this council and has earned the work that they are getting paid for. So I guess to that extent, I would say, let's not make a mountain out of a molehill when the work was performed, the work was done well, and they deserve the increases that have been considered.
I'm saying, and I adamantly disagree with your interpretation, I think that's the interpretation you arrive at when you're looking to be, this sentence to be interpreted a certain way.
I disagree with your interpretation too.
And
It's
the
a
reason,
12-month period. It does not tell you when it starts and stops.
in
That
the,
12-month period could have stopped before those raises, or halfway through half the raises.
The most important thing is, we're going to fix it going forward. This has never been an issue going in the past. Part of the reason some of these raises were curled to the pay band that we think is a better way to recognize performance and also to present to council how individuals are getting paid in different portions. So you have this whole creation of trying to do it better and then recognizing that some of the people weren't being properly compensated in the bands that council approved. So,
I understand that. I'm not arguing with that they deserve the raises. Again, I'm arguing with the process that the administration went through. There is a reason this code exists. Everyone was aware that this exists. This came up at last meeting because I asked to review the increases, which I've been asking for a while. to do on Personnel Committee. I want to get in a habit of reviewing these increases every year. I've been saying that since I took over the Personnel Committee in 2020. And then at my last meeting, it was presented, and there is a conflict between the code and what was done. In my opinion, it's pretty clear that that's what happened.
I don't have any huge quarrel with the procedure that was followed, given the past practice and history, and the unusual circumstances that surrounded all this. The thing I'm more concerned about, or focused on, is I'd like to see that opinion, and we need to come up with some understanding. I read the ordinance the way Cora does, and I think if we can just come up to an understanding, okay, if the raise is given here, love the way he said it, if the raise is given on this day, in the next 12 months, whatever raises that employee receives can't exceed 7% without council concurrence. And I don't know if Kate's opinion is now going to become the settled view as to how this happens, or?
Well, I think what we're going to I think the best practice is to clarify the language.
Yeah,
I mean, one of the things here is that it has always been calendar year. And last year, there were a number of changes that council recommended we make, and we made them. You also have some additional, you have union contracts and other things, so some of that timing. And this is also goes to the notion, okay, let's even assume that the pay 12 months is 12 months. Okay, so if an elected official, the mayor, wanted to avoid such a controversy, I could count 365 days and give the raise as much as 7% and then wait 365 days and wait 7%. This is an example of picking on something that doesn't deserve to be picked on. We were trying to do right by our employees who have deserved the raises they're getting and shouldn't have to wait because of their hard work and because of the cost of living increases to receive the wages they've earned and deserve. So if you're going to say that you know what, I guess I'll take it back. If you want to say the administration did it wrong, say the administration, say the mayor did it wrong, but do not gyp these individuals of their pay. They've earned it. If we want to gain 12 months, I could have gained 12 months. I thought this was the best way to recognize my employees for doing their hard work, and I'll stand on that.
Well, and I would disagree. I think the best way to recognize was to make the same recommendation, bring it to council. We had several council meetings between when this was announced, and I asked that this resolution be retroactive because I value the workers as well. I also value the process, and I think it's important to follow that. And I think the focus that you have is on the wrong part. I think you know as well as I do that I value the work that our city employees do. But I also value the process, and we need to be following the code. There's a reason why the mayor can do things except for approval with city council. And that's what this code says. And I haven't gotten anything yet that past practice dictates that it's been done this way. I haven't received any of that information yet.
That was requested at the Personnel Committee, I think, by Councilman McCarthy. I remember it. I watched that meeting, and you did request it. You have not received it? Any of the history of the past practices?
No, I don't think we have. That's what Bridget, I think you alluded to, we're going to
To
get.
the next committee meeting?
Yeah, we said we'd.
So it doesn't need to come forth before we vote on this?
And I just want to make comment, I agree with you, the employees here do a fantastic job. I just don't feel like we've been provided enough evidence to justify this at this point. And I hate to say that, but I'm not necessarily in favor of the resolution as presented. One question though I do have is historically, how many in this scenario, they have the opportunity, some have already gotten 10% raise between the end of November, so you might as well say beginning of December until April. And then given the logic that we've been given using the past practice model, you could be looking at a potential 12% increase in a period of less than 12 months. And that to me kind of raised my eyebrows. Now, there may be some justification behind that, but I didn't have that evidence, and I don't have that, and I don't feel confident in making a yes vote on this. And I hate to say it, it breaks my heart because I know we have some city employees here that definitely probably deserve that wage. But again, I just don't feel confident where it's at right now, so.
If I can add on, since Tom, I get the passion for the employees, and that's where I struggle with is I want to support the employees with this. My only concern is the process and procedure. The way I look at it, I look at it the same way as it was discussed about the any 12-month period. The way is coming, I don't want to say even asking for forgiveness because it sounds that the opinion that you were given, that the administration was given that this was the correct way to do this. But coming back retroactively to ask, and I'll just use the term and don't take this wrong when I say it, but asking for forgiveness after the fact is something I struggle with because it's not something that, we would look at it with in the business sense, you do something wrong and then ask for forgiveness later and say, don't do it again. And I think that this conversation's healthy enough to remind that, but I struggle with how I want to vote on this because I don't want to take away from our employees because I know we got some pretty damn good employees here in the city, and I want them to get paid the wages they deserve. But it's hard for me to say, all right, we just did this in November, and now we're asking for forgiveness for trying to think of the right way to put that, but asking for forgiveness that we gave them this raise already and we've made the commitment, but it didn't go through the proper procedures. If you follow what I'm.
Well, if you look at the raises themselves, I don't have any quarrels with the raises to an extent. They're well deserved. The staff could say, in a certain sense, that those raises they received late in 2021 should have come early in 2021, but didn't because of a lot of different things. So I'm confused about why we're having a dilemma over Resolution 51. If you support the city employees, vote yes and pass it. We'll figure this out on a going forward basis.
I agree with, I have no intention of voting no. I'm not thrilled because I think this should have come before council. But realistically, when you say 2021 was a unique year, that's exactly why a code section like this exists. So when there's unique circumstances that justify the cost of living increases, everyone out here is dealing with gas prices and inflation. Everyone drove here. It is not easy to fill your gas tank right now. I get those justifications, but the code says, suggest that raise, bring it before council, and then we can approve.
But you're also, some of the reason is some of the reason the management level the raises were waiting on until we had a fixed number for the union negotiations. So, for example, some of those were postponed a little bit. So now, to some degree, you could hamper an administration's strategy for negotiating it. Because that's one of the things that maybe you just approve, you just pass those early on, and then that raises a whole bunch of other issues. The administration needs to have flexibility. The calendar year was kind of the standard that has been used. You can argue this, about a lot of whole different things, but to some degree, I think we do need to clear it up going forward, a variety of reasons. But this is an example of last year wasn't a unique year, and there were a lot of factors coming into play. Some of them because of what council was asking the administration to do, and because council had never asked for certain things before. And we provided it to them, and now we're being told, hey, we wanted this, you gave it to us, we approved these things consistent with what you want. Now we want to go back and to some degree punish the employees for the delay. And I think that that's unfair to the employees. You can argue about whether the administration could have done it better. But right now, you're hindsighting fair raises last year and consistent with past practice, fair raises this year. And so if there's no other discussion.
Wait, I just want to be clear again, because you keep bringing up punishing the employees. That is not what is going on here at all. That is a mix.
I feel very confident that we would have passed that.
That's an absolute.
They all deserve it. They're very deserving.
Well,
because
that's your opinion.
But because
Very deserving.
unique circumstances like union negotiations in delaying those pay increases are exactly why a code section like this exists. What's the fear of bringing forward pay increases to council?
There is no fear, and we have.
Then why didn't we do it?
Because their past practices wouldn't have warranted that this come before council. And that, we will, if something qualified, we will bring it before council. This administration, you're inferring that we're hiding something, and this administration has not done that. This administration has brought whatever council has wanted, provided the information to it in a timely manner and in complete detail. It has also provided a bunch of other different steps to provide additional information, because when I was on council, I was always asking for more information. So we've gone bent over backward to provide information to this council, and to infer that this administration is not bringing something that should be brought to council is again and not supported by the facts.
But I disagree with you again. I asked for this information.
All right, well,
Can you call the question?
roll call.
I do actually have a legitimate question here real quick. With passing this, if this passes here tonight, this is only approving the raises that were put forward and not giving any authorization for any other additional. Am I correct in that?
Current, right.
So it's what has been
Right.
presented to us on this. I just want to make sure that is clarified, so.
Yeah, that's very fair. Roll call.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
No.
Mr. Coolman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni?
That's the end of my report. The next meeting will be, let's see, Tuesday, June 28th at 5 p.m.
Thank you. Public utilities.
Thank you, Your Honor. Public Utilities meeting on May 25th, 2022. I called the meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. Members present, myself, Jam Attorney Jonathan Smith, Kate Sandrone, Law Director, and Alice Godsey, Director of Public Utilities. There were no citizens' concerns. The approval of prior month's minutes, there were no objections. There was a sewer credits tabulation. Ms. Godsey stated that 745's Tribune sump pump float was stuck, causing it to run for an extended time. She presented an adjustment for 3 months, a total of $449.79. The sewer credit at 332 East 2nd Street, Ms. Godsey explained that the resident had 2 leaks in their crawl space, both of which were repaired by a plumber. Committee was presented with a description of the repair from the plumber's invoice. There was no dye test required, and made a motion to approve the sewer billing credit for 332 East 2nd Street in the amount of $1,369.33. There were no objections. Permission to purchase a 3/4 ton truck. Ms. Andretto explained a request to purchase a new truck for the Division of Public Utilities, which would be used by a newly created position of Field Operations Superintendent. Vehicle will be a GMC Sierra truck and will cost $43,721.50, which is under the budgeted amount for 2022. This will be purchased locally from Perrysburg Auto Mall on Dixie Highway in Perrysburg. I'd asked for a schedule to be put together for purchasing vehicles in rotation. Being no objections, the committee approved this. Ms. Andretta, in regards to amendment to codified ordinance 1060.06, B, Rule number 25, Ms. Andretto explained a request to pull this rule that they had previously talked about amending. She added that one of the changes will be that landlords will now have to sign a document for each lessee. Mr. Smith was concerned about citizens having to come in person to apply for utility accounts and that the hours are not ideal for everyone. Ms. Andretto explained the city has changed their policies and protocols so that no one has to show up in person any longer and that everything can be completed virtually. There was a discussion on stormwater. I'd asked if the city could start a rain barrel initiative program or grant program in that regard. Ms. Godsey suggested that the public information officer could start sharing more information on that. I stated that rain barrels would be great to eliminate surface water and residents could use the water to water their gardens. I also asked about the Grassy Creek Master Plan, and Mr. Smith explained that there was negotiation with the Ohio EPA. Ms. Godsey followed up by stating that they are working with the Ohio EPA to find alternatives that are feasible and within budget for Grassy Creek Master Plan. I was excited to get something going, and I ideally would like to see that built into the budget. Under other business, Mr. Smith brought up an issue with west-south boundary and State Route 25, where Mr. Freeze patrons are seeing the, quote, no left turn, unquote, signs and using Westbrook to turn around. He stated that many people on that street are putting cones in their driveway or are parking in the apron so that they cannot turn around in their driveways. He suggested that having a sign on 25 telling patrons to cross over west-south boundary and use Mr. Freeze entrance on 25. Ms. Sandretto will talk with the appropriate people and see that what they can do. Ms. Materney asked about ditch cleaning schedule and hopes to see one at the next meeting. Ms. Godsey stated that she is aware of some of the county-owned ditches within the city limits. I thank Ms. Godsey for arranging the tours of the wastewater treatment plant, and she in turn thanked us for the time we took to take that tour. There were no further business that evening, and we adjourned at 7:18 p.m. Our next committee meeting is scheduled at this time, although we don't have necessarily anything on the agenda right now, and we'll keep you updated on that, but that will be June 22nd, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. I do have a motion I would like a motion, enter a motion to approve the $1,369.33 sewer credit.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Materney?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you have a resolution.
Yes, I do. Thank you. I would like to introduce Resolution 52-2022 and move that the rules be suspended to allow for its reading by number, title only, and dispense with the second and third reading.
Second?
Roll call?
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Materney?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Resolution 52, 2022, a resolution authorizing a purchase agreement with Perrysburg Auto Mall in an amount not to exceed $43,721.50 for the purchase of a GMC Sierra for the Department of Public Utilities and declaring an emergency.
Move that Resolution 52-2022 pass as emergency measure.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Materney?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Service?
No report. Next meeting is Wednesday, June 22nd, 5:30.
Thank you very much. Any other business?
Yes. Got a couple things. It is now June. What is our timeline for live meetings?
I think we're still on schedule for the beginning of July. We have a, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're going to have training this week,
Next week.
and next week, and then we have one after that, and I think if we're functionally ready, we should be able to go up.
Awesome. I look forward to that. The other question I wanted to ask about is I've gotten a couple inquiries about this. The truck route that goes downtown, has there been any proactivity to divert that to Indiana rather than through downtown? What process can we go through?
And, well, to stay around, yes, we have multiple discussions about the trucks going through downtown to run into Indiana Avenue, and I would suggest that the individuals at Indiana Avenue have come in here on multiple occasions and conveyed that that is a terrible idea. But it's also, the road is not designed for the weight, and that would cause substantial costs to expand. We have tried to get diversion around the interstate to go all the way around to 25 and down, so you don't have to go through downtown at all. Obviously, it would be better to, if no trucks were coming through downtown when we're trying to have events or when you're trying to eat outside. But there are also lots of other factors that have made that difficult, and we continue to work on various options.
About that the intersection of 25 in Indiana doesn't have the turn radius for a
That's
truck
right.
to make.
So which is one of the things we're trying to improve.
That section would be compliant, it would be everything from just west of the railroad tracks all the way east to Indiana Avenue. That would have to have a study done to demonstrate that it meets these standards in which ODOT would require before a request could be made. And based on the conversations with our last city engineer, it would not meet the design standards that are required by ODOT.
Okay. Is there any So it's something we're trying to get done, right? Is that fair to say that?
We do stay in contact with ODOT just to make sure that design standards haven't changed. I can certainly at our next internal traffic committee meeting bring this up to the current city engineer, who has not been part of those discussions since this arrival.
I will say that the individual, when we did have this initial discussion when I was on council, and when we were expanding as part of the multi-use path, and when I became mayor, we had discussions. We received multiple communications from residents on Indiana Avenue vehemently opposing it. So there's lots to consider there, but yes.
It would take major reconstruction for that section to be up to standards for truck traffic, semi-truck traffic.
Is that something we can like figure out on service, like an action plan for diverting that, or something that could be actionable, I guess, long-term?
If you have the
I get that there are residents that don't want that on Indiana, I appreciate
But the biggest
that.
cost is the standard of the construction of the.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting,
Oh,
but
go
that's
ahead.
my baby.
If that's your building, we'll go right ahead.
It would take a lot of money, because you'd have to just totally reconstruct that whole section from 199 to 25. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You're talking about a couple million.
Bridget, is that intersection work that we're gonna have done there, will that, after that's done, will that accommodate a truck?
That is an ODOT funded project, so we have to follow ODOT specifications for the section of pavement that we are replacing, as well as the addition of the turn lane and the turn radiuses, that should be compliant.
Yeah, so there's the first step.
East
So
of that and south of that.
is the diversion we're seeking basically, would it be like 582 to 75 then for a truck route? Is that the?
Well, really, you can just go on the truck route, there's no reason trucks should be traveling through town if they're just going down, through town, then left out on Front Street to get back on 25 across the Maumee River. They should just basically be going around the outer belt and up 25.
Right, that's why I was curious, because you mentioned there's been discussions about trying to divert it to the interstate rather, and I was just curious what that diversion looked like, so.
Can I ask, so the truck traffic, is it coming, when it's coming in from the east, is it coming down 795 and then turning right onto Louisiana and then get on Front Street? Is that where that traffic's coming
Not
from?
necessarily, it depends on what route you're talking about, because there's multiple routes
Then-
that all converge at Indiana Avenue.
Right,
You have
Indiana.
199, you have US 20, you have 795, you might have a 23 in there somewhere, or a 25.
64.
So there's multiple
64.
routes that come in right to that point of Indiana and Louisiana.
And often the
And they
truck,
all travel down Louisiana Avenue.
sometimes the trucks are going from Maumee, they don't go on 25, they come down Front Street and then turn, right?
Right, okay.
It's.
So 795 or Indiana Avenue, east of Louisiana Avenue has the weight, the restrictions are allowed?
That is a state posted truck route.
Okay, but then the state route stops at that point?
Correct.
There's, from 199 to 25?
Yes.
Okay, that's where I was mistaken. I was thinking that was 795 all the way to 25. Okay, I understand now.
And I guess I want to get at I think the reason we get asked that is, I've given that as an example of reasons we don't close down downtown for events as frequently. So in comparison to our neighbors to the south, Bowling Green has their Firefly Nights. I think they're continuing that this year, where they literally shut down, I think, every Friday or every other Friday. It's quite often, and they shut down 25
That's a state route as well.
for it. So what is our obstacles for that? Is that
I don't know if that section
Is
is
the
a
route.
posted truck route or not,
okay?
for ODOT.
So what are our obstacles when we have to shut down downtown for, say, Harrison Rally Days or a parade or anything like
I
that?
think it's the fact that it is the state's posted truck route, that is where the trucks are supposed to travel down.
Okay.
Because the load limits on the roadways contiguous to that cannot bear the weight without damaging the road. So that is the posted truck route, and you can petition ODOT to move a truck route to another alternate location, but you have to demonstrate that it meets the design standards to carry that weight and the volume of traffic.
Okay, I get that, but when we do close down downtown, because we do have several events where we do that, is there an extra obstacle because it's a truck route?
Not necessarily extra, we have to do some communication and some signage to let folks know where they can travel, which sometimes takes them through a neighborhood, which then becomes inconvenient to that neighborhood. But we try to accommodate the best we've done, some downtown events. But we are looking to move more of those events onto West Third Street to the ability that we can, and the event can accommodate that, to make that more the center of town for those types of events.
Okay, I just wanted to understand because I know there's people interested in things like that, more prevalent downtown. People just like walking on the main street. I don't know what it is. People love that. And it has been brought up to me several times, so I just wanted to ask the question about the truck route.
Since I've been here, we may have only, I wouldn't say turned away, but we may have requested an event holder to consider either Second or Third Street, but that's only been a couple times since I've been here. We haven't really turned anybody away. We worked with folks to try and maybe shift some of their programming onto a side street to maybe not keep that downtown area closed as long, but I don't know how really.
Right, a lot of times,
Wholesale saying no.
like downtown, Perrysburg, they put them on the side streets or Second Street or keep that open. We are gonna close it for the race for a couple hours. But for the most part, people they don't wanna, they've been accommodating, as far as I know, they wanna have the event, but they're not necessarily been opposed to putting it on Second Street or Third Street or someplace else, which has been just as effective in some ways. It worked out better, but.
Okay, I just want to understand the logistics of it, because I know that's something that BG's doing, people have noticed, and I'm, asked naturally if Perrysburg has plans to do stuff like that or what we can do on that downtown area. So I just wanted to better understand that, so thank you. And I have nothing else to ask.
Motion to adjourn?
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.